Hopefully you can see it okay, but the valve is right there. It's not too good in focus. I'll back it out. But anyhow, so that's the shutoff valve that I put in, and again, that was very easy to install. Something you gotta have if you're going to actually use the Johnny bucket. So anyhow, put that in. Took about 10 minutes. Alright, so I got the Johnny Bucket Senior here, the 5 boxes. You can see those a little bit better now. The end one is going to be the little tooth blade, and we'll go ahead and open these up and show the contents and move forward. Alright, so we've got the pieces laid out, and this is what you have. This came in four boxes. If you do not have the tooth assembly, then you will only have 3 boxes, but they were very nicely packed. And the first thing you're going to have to do is down on the far end, you're going to cut the Tyvek straps, which is holding the that pivot arm in place. Cut those so that we can raise it up, and right underneath there are 2 screws on each end, and we'll need to remove those screws. So we'll raise it up, pivot this up, and then remove the screws so we can remove the 2x4. Alright, and just to clarify, we cut the Tyvek on the other end, those little straps, but what we're going to do is we're going to remove this pin so we can pull this out and lift this up, and that's how we're going to get to those 2 screws that have that mounted there. So now you can see it's moved out of place, and then we'll just real quickly remove those, and now the 2x4, and we'll have to cut the Tyvek on the middle as well. Alright, after you've removed the rear 2x4, then go ahead and remove the front 2x4 as well, and you'll be left with this. Alright, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to remove the pins on both sides. I've already taken one out because we're going to take the bracket, and we're going to pin the front right here to the front hole, and then the dump cylinder will be pinned right here in this upper hole, which is slightly to the rear. Alright, one thing that I'm doing, instructions didn't really call for it, but I'm spreading grease right there. I mean, this thing's powder coated, but I figure that's going to be moving back and forth. That paint's going to be rubbed off, and you know, probably it don't matter. I just did it just to keep it from rusting, and not to mention if you put grease there and then put a little on the pin that's going to go through there, it'll make it easy to slide that pin in. So that's what I did. Another little bitty tip: this thing when you get ready to come up is very tight on both sides. So putting that grease on there actually allows this to slide it really easy. But just take a little. This is the Wonder Bar. Take that and just lift up on it, and man, that thing it'll pull out just enough to slide up on there. Alright, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to mount the hitch assembly, which is this is what's going to mount to the front of the John Deere, and or whatever you drive. So we've got this hole, which is going to line up here. These right there are going to sit on those 2 screws. So pretty straightforward. Alright, so I've got the bumper assembly loosely attached. One thing I'd recommend, the 2x4 is you cut off, take each end, raise it up, and set it on there, because you've actually got 4 bolts that bolt on. You got one that goes through and one going up and down. So you need a 2x4 so you can get up underneath and feed that bolt through. And particularly if you're a one-man show putting it together, that'll make it kind of nice. So I'm going to go ahead and tighten those down, and then move on to the next step. Alright, pretty much got this thing complete. I've got the tooth bar to put on. This is bolted in. What I can see now that I probably will do is, instead of having bolts to bolt it on, I'll rig me up some pins to pin it, because the way this is designed is that it has part of it that comes back and is wedged underneath, in this part, so it's not going anywhere. So with it wedged on the front edge like that, it'd be nice to pin it in and out so that when I go to spread out and try to level dirt, that I no longer have these on the front to dig grooves in the ground when you're going to point it down and use it for spreading stuff out. But right now I've got a whole lot of, let me just tell you what I'm going to use it for. I don't know if you can look out through there. There's 11 dump truck loads of dirt. Pretty soon we'll go ahead and get it hooked up. I got to get all my mess cleaned up. I went ahead and brought the hoses. They had those little zip ties, Tyvek ties, whatever you want to call them. So I fed them all out to the right, and then we'll just be able to hook these up to the appropriate color. They're color coded, so you know which one goes to which clamp. And one thing they do mention in the instructions is after you hook it up and you run, it's going to be a little slushy at first, but then after all the air works out, it won't be. It'll be nice and responsive. But then after this thing is run, a certain amount of the hydraulic fluid is going to be retained in the hoses and in the hydraulic pump. So at that point, we're probably going to have to add a little bit more hydraulic fluid. I actually just serviced mine today. That's why I got it over there. Alright, well, this is the Johnny Bucket installed, and then after a lot of use already. If you guys remember, I mean, now I moved a lot of dirt to the back and then probably half of each pile, and then I've leveled out the rest so it could kind of fill in the ditch. Today, this big pile over here, I moved about a third of it in about, I don't know, 30-40 minutes, I guess. And this thing works really well. For this X485, I had no need, even when this thing is full of dirt, no need for any back weights. I thought maybe I was going to have the problem I ran into is that I've got turf tires. Yesterday it was wet, and so it was a real battle. That's why it's so muddy. Today, we've had sunshine since late yesterday afternoon, all day today, and we'll have it all this week. You know, as far as getting used to it, one of the things that, you know, I had to get used to was just learning the correct angle of the Johnny Bucket, and how to have the angle set for when you're getting ready to go in to pick the dirt up, and using the levers to adjust it accordingly. But man, this thing works like a champ. I could not be happier. Again, the idea of putting pins for the teeth so that I can quickly remove those as opposed to having to take a bolt out. Because when I get ready to go spread, I use it today for pushing dirt forward. I don't see any reason why anybody would ever want to necessarily have a blade. I mean, you can see, if you have a little flat blade up front, you can see better. But I can use this thing to push dirt. Without those teeth on it, I'll be able to use it to pull and push, kind of level things out. Still going to make myself a box blade tonight to do final leveling and really slick the dirt off. So anyhow, probably do a little video of seeing it in use, but highly recommended. Again, if you have any reservations, you don't need a front end loader, but you want something to move a lot of material quickly and easily, this is the ticket right here.